Welcome, all you wiretappers out there, back here in studio, Gangland Wire, with our now regular, almost frequent contributor, Ignacio Esteban, retired ATF agent. Welcome, Ignacio.
Hey, Gary. Thanks for having me again. I enjoy being out here.
I know you do. I know you do. And you guys, you need to look him up on Amazon. He's got a whole bunch of books out that are easy reads, and you can learn anything you want about crime, guns, anything that you might want to find out about. He's got a book about it on Amazon. So just look him up. You can just look in the show notes, and I'll put links to his author page on in Amazon. And I've done other shows with him. So look back at my other shows, and you can learn more about Mr. Retired Agent Esteban.
Esteban with ATF.
With ATF. Yeah. How did you first retired? Did you feel like, did you bother you telling people you were retired? It did me. I didn't like saying I was retired.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of didn't, because I was in headquarters. I did my 2 years there.
Yeah.
And I felt good. I mean, most of my career was doing investigations, being proactive, but, I learned a lot behind the scenes there too. How, things really happen behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I was okay with it. And I really never thought, I was dabbling a little with my autobiography, ATF Undercover, but I never thought I was going to be a prolific writer like this. I was going to do this. This is something I didn't think about, really.
Yeah, really.
And it's really taken a life. And I never thought I'll be on podcast shows and YouTube shows. I never thought this. And I've done I was telling earlier, about 25 shows and counting. I've got I did Australia. I did one in India, which is a written interview. And now I'm doing a show in London. A 3-part series is going to be doing in a few weeks. And then the good thing is there might be something else bigger, which I'm working on a screenplay. So I'll let you guys know down the road what's going to happen. This could be something big. So we'll see.
Great. Keep us up on that. So what we want to talk about, I had noticed that Ignacio had a book on the Hells Angels, and Sonny Barger just died, and he focuses quite a little bit on Sonny Barger. And Sonny Barger of the Hells Angels, the Oakland Hells Angels, correct?
Well, I explain a little bit how that came about, because there's Oakland, there's San Bernardino Hells Angels, but he was able to merge it all together. Okay. And he came up with the bylaws. And it's very interesting how he was able to do it. San Bernardino Hells Angels started by Otto Friedli, but they were able to work things out because he was really part of the Panthers Oakland chapter that was defunct. And I'll give you a little background about him if you like. He was a very interesting guy himself. He came from a broken home. His mother left him when he was 4 months old with his older sister. His dad was an alcoholic, right? He was a laborer, worked in Asia. So he was in a bad situation. He dropped out of high school when he was in 10th grade, and he ends up joining the military. He forges his birth certificate soon after, says he's 18, really he's 15, and he goes in the army. And he's in the army for about a year and a half until they discover that this guy's underage. So, but they don't give him a dishonorable discharge. They just give him a regular discharge, which I thought was interesting. So they didn't stain him for that, but he did what he had to do, and he was out. But he was always big into, big with the hands and mechanics. So he liked motorcycles, and that's how he developed with the Oakland chapter there. Well, he liked the name. It has a military background, the Hells Angels, people, during World War II. So he kept the name, but the names were being used. So what happens is he has to work things out with other chapters, and he consolidates. He writes the bylaws, and by doing so, that unifies the Hells Angels in California. And from there on, he then becomes Otto Friedli gets arrested. He gets 10 years, right? And this is about early 60s. So then he becomes a de facto president, national president of the Hells Angels. It's a very smart move on his part. He moves because at the time, the mother chapter, so to speak, the headquarters was in San Bernardino. He wants to take to Oakland. So then he moves it to Oakland, and all of a sudden he is it, because Friedli never takes over again the reins, and he becomes the national and the face for the next 60 years of the Hells Angels, pretty much.
Really? So now let me recap just a little bit. Is this Otto Friedli? He had something. It was the Panthers, and then they took the name of the Hells Angels in San Bernardino.
Panthers was something he had in Oakland.
Oh, in Oakland.
Sonny Barger. Yeah, it was a local
Sonny
chapter.
Barger's had Panthers. Okay. Then and Otto Friedli's got this Hells Angels in San Bernardino. There's other disparate Hells Angels motorcycle clubs.
Right.
So Sonny Barger, being a strong personality after he comes out of the Army, then he and a guy that can organize and sees the wisdom in organizing, then he starts. Friedley goes to jail, and Sonny Barger becomes the strong personality and the guy that gets around other chapters and starts putting it together. Is that?
And very smartly, he moves the headquarters, the mother chapter, to Oakland, and that consolidates his base, which kind of changes a lot for him, because then from then on, he pretty much he's the face, and he's running the Hells Angels from then on until at the end of his life when he gets sick. And I'll talk about his cancer and throat and everything else that kind of changes his life also. So the Hells Angels were involved in a lot of things. Obviously, they represent, I guess, the counterculture movement in the 60s.
Right.
When you think that, you think of Sonny Barger and the Hells Angels. And I put in my book, they had a really, really bad episode. And I didn't really understand how bad it was in Altamont Speedway. It was a concert the Rolling Stones wanted to organize just after Woodstock, right? I don't know if you heard about this.
Oh, yeah.
How bad it was.
I have. I know. You can tell them about it. Everybody may not know about that. You got younger people.
I knew something about it. I didn't know how bad the melee, especially now that the videos are out there. And your audience can look at the videos, how bad it was. It was, in hindsight, it's 2020, it was a bad decision allegedly by the Rolling Stones management to pick the Hells Angels for security, right? That's not the greatest move in the world. And especially providing, someone did, it wasn't clear, 3 kegs during the concert, right? And this was an all weekend, all day affair. So they're doing heavily drinking. The concert goers are, back in the 60s, they're smoking, right? Tripping acid. They're doing everything. So the Rolling Stones were the last act. They had put us together, but they had all of these big names, Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane. I mean, you name it. That was like the big show, and it was for free. So everybody came, because, the Rolling Stones were accused of charging too much, I guess, that summer for a lot of concerts. So they felt bad about it. So they wanted to give, you saw Woodstock, that was free. So this is what's the West Coast side of Woodstock, where they pretty much what I was reading about. Obviously before my time, but I was reading about it, and I found it very interesting. But I didn't realize all the video, because they had filmed it almost like doing some sort of concert. They were filming it. And then you see the melee. You see how things get breaking bad. And allegedly, Sonny Barger, who's organized, puts a gun when they're playing the Rolling Stones to Keith Richards' side and says, "You guys keep on playing, or things get ugly," because they didn't want things to. And so you have that famous picture and video where allegedly they say, "Hey, some of the concert goers hit over the bikes they had, and one of the guys supposed to have a knife or another gun, and it was a black male in a green suit, and you can see he stands out, and the Hells Angel guy comes out with a huge knife and starts stabbing him. And you can see it clearly in the video, and kills him. And that gives, the Hells Angels a huge black eye in American persona, because the world sees that. Rolling Stone magazine was there, and they documented the whole thing, and they did a documentary, and then they also wrote a magazine, Let It Be, from the Beatles, Let It Bleed. Was what they titled that whole thing. So
that really was a huge black eye for the Hells Angels. They kind of had some good publicity, the Summer of Love in San Francisco, and the Angels were going out to that park, the San Francisco park that all the hippies hung out in. A lot of publicity. Sonny Barger, he was kind of a master at publicity too, I think. He made this statement back then. I'll never forget this. He said Vietnam was not going so well. Quickly, people knew that. And he said, we just need to take the Hells Angels and take them over there, and they'll kick the Viet Cong's ass right back up to North Vietnam, and this thing will be over. Oh, my God. The whole country went crazy. That guy was a master at getting the national attention and publicity.
He even wrote a letter to LBJ saying that. There's even a letter. Obviously the president never responded.
Obviously,
but there's a letter of him. I was reading that one that he sends it to LBJ.
I didn't know that,
which is interesting. Yeah, so there's a lot of cool things. I didn't know. I started researching this, which I kind of like. You have the law enforcement perspective. Obviously, we investigate these guys, but then I'm looking at the person. But there's a lot of mistakes, and unfortunately, he develops a really bad cocaine addiction.
Okay,
and that starts derailing because they get really involved in drug trafficking. He develops a bad addiction. Cocaine, heroin become drugs of choice to start trafficking. And then he gets in a big jam in a trial in the early 70s for murdering a drug courier in Oakland over an $80,000 debt. Right, he's looking at life. pretty much. This is a huge trial, early 70s. Sonny Barger is being tried for murder, right? There's a witness that says he came in where the crew he was staying, and he shot him when he was sleeping in the head, killed him. That's a witness. Witness was there, and then they burned down the property. What was that? Other Hells Angels. What saves them in the trial, what I was reading in the investigation, was there was Oakland Police Department sergeant who testified and said that Barger pretty much was an informant for him. He had worked for him for years, and he would provide information about weapons, explosives, and for Black Panther Party members in that area, and also for the Weather Underground group, two leftist organizations.
Right.
And he's very on the opposite. So, he didn't like the protesters. He didn't like these guys either. So anything he could do to help hurt these organizations, he would help. So in essence, he said Barger was an informant. Sonny Barger, Hell Angel, was an informant for Oakland Police Department. So I found that interesting. He was acquitted. I testifies, and he's acquitted of murder, even though there was a witness that said he got shot in the head for a drug carrier. That was a huge win. You can see some of the video and everything else. He dodged. He was looking at life. Yeah. So that was a big win for him. But again, they're involved in a lot of drug trafficking and other things going on. So he gets hit later with drug charges, and he does about 3 years in First County prison. So that's a big hit. RICO passes in the early 70s, and Hell's Angels are still back in business. So by 1980, in San Francisco, they decided to do a huge RICO investigation against Hell's Angels. I think they spent like $5 million, had over 150 witnesses testify, right, against him, the Hell's Angels in California. This is supposed to pretty much end the Hell's Angels once for all. They think this is bad news.
Yeah.
He's acquitted.
Oh, wow.
He's acquitted. His wife's acquitted. Hung jury for most of the guys in the Hell's Angels.
Wow.
Hung jury.
He's like the Teflon Don of Hell's Angels motorcycle gangs.
Yes, that was a huge win for Sonny Barger and them. But he then develops health issues. He was a huge chain smoker. When I was looking and reading, he would smoke 3 packs a day, and he would have lung cancer. He would have a cancer of the throat, which he would have to have his vocal cords removed. So that's why he has to learn how to speak through his esophagus.
Oh yeah,
and he had the voice box, and his voice completely changed and everything else. So he's going through that changes there. Then he finally does get caught by the feds in an interesting case. Remember, he was an informant, right? Yeah. Allegedly, according to the sergeant, right? Well, then he has somebody who was a sergeant of arms out of Anchorage, decides to work with the feds in an investigation, starts wearing a wire and everything else in the late 80s. And this would hurt the Hells Angels big time, because the chapter president of Anchorage is killed by outlaws in Louisville area outside a biker bar, right? So he wants payback. But unfortunately, he doesn't realize he's been infiltrated and everything's being recorded. So they know that he's planning to bring other Hells Angels to cross from California to Louisville to kill these guys who are involved in killing one of their guys. So before all that happens, he gets popped in a conspiracy case by the feds for transporting explosives to attempt murder to kill this guy. So this one he loses, and so the other Angels, and he ends up getting about 4 years federal time for that.
Yeah.
So I think that changes him a lot. He then doesn't want to return back to California in Oakland. He decides to want to set up a chapter in Cave Creek, Arizona, because he does his federal time in Arizona federal prison there, right? I guess he likes the weather, he likes what he sees, and he wants to move out there. So he moves out there, and after he does it 3 or 4 years, so now he's had a few federal convictions. And he wants to take more of a back approach. I guess he's learned this hurt, what he did here. He wants to be more of an advisor type deal. But unfortunately, with alcohol and other things, he's also and I put this in my book also, he's also a domestic abuser. And his third wife really suffers a lot from domestic abuse with his stepdaughter. And the sheriff's office out there, Maricopa, goes out there and one time has to arrest him. She's bruised, broken bones, a broken spleen, broken ribs, the whole 9 yards. And stepdaughter also abused. Tells him, according to reports and everything that's out there, that she thought he was going to kill her. So that's another side. You have, you got the international icon, but you also have this side of this guy, which is very abusive, which a lot of people did not like about Sonny Barger like that. It was really no need for that. After that, he decides to leave Arizona and go back to Oakland. By the late 90s, I guess he realized that he just couldn't stay there. He divorced her, and he gets married again for a fourth time, and he starts that. This is where he transforms from the iconic side, where he makes this a business, where he puts Hell's Angels, he writes his autobiography that becomes a bestseller. He helps the Sons of Anarchy show. He's a consultant. In fact, it's probably based on the Hell's Angels, what happens there. So that's interesting there. A lot of writing, a lot of publicity work. He tries to change the Hell's Angels a lot in that sense. But of course, I think he's learned that after having an informant from within, he wants to take that role, which I think is interesting. There's a few interesting battles. I mean, in 2000s, I think your audience can probably look it up. And it's the Pagans and Them back in, I think that was in 2002. There was the Hellraiser Expo, which is like a motorcycle / thing, where the Pagans ambushed the Hell's Angels there, and he was present, and it got ugly, and the Hell's Angel had to kill a pagan, and the feds later, because of that situation, indict over 75 pagans over that whole situation. So, and then Sonny Barger tries to become peacemaker, which was pretty interesting, and he starts to do a summit later in a few months in Laughlin, Nevada, right? They have a big run out there, but unfortunately at Harrah's, there's a huge brawl between the Mongols and the day before the peace summit. The Hells Angels and the Mongols go at it, and you can see everybody knows his famous videos. You can look at all the videos up there. They're stabbing and shooting each other, and allegedly it started because a police officer told one of the Hells Angels guy, "Hey, there's Mongols surrounding one of your brothers. You better go out there and do something, or hey, you may want to look what's going on." And they really were just chatting, and they were talking, and he got out of control. And a lot of guys were shot. Some were shot, stabbed, and killed. And it was a bad. I think that's really pushed Sonny Barger way back out of the whole situation after that. So there's a lot of interesting things about Barger. I put in my book. It's like it's a short read. And there's a lot more stuff in there. But he was like the Teflon Don for a while until he got popped from within, and that kind of got him there.
Well, that was interesting. That is really interesting, folks. You can get this book as a Kindle for free, and you don't even have to have a Kindle device. They'll download the software for you, or you can read it online. Just go to Amazon, just one click, and it's kind of interesting. What I did, I noticed that Ignacio had put that up on the Facebook page, and I jumped in there and grabbed it right away just to see what it was like. And it was really an interesting read and easy read. And you could learn, what we just learned and a lot more about Sonny Barger and the origin and the kind of the history of the Hells Angels. So jump out there and get that quick. Is it out there for free forever, or is it a period of time?
Yeah. If you're a Kindle Unlimited subscriber, it's free forever. If you're not, it's free until Monday.
Okay. All right. So get out there right away. Get out there right away, guys.
Free until Monday. Like I said, it's a good read. It's researched. Interesting things that I didn't know about Sonny Barger. I had researched and looked into it. Fascinating hook. I mean, he definitely was the face of the Hells Angels for a long time. And it's a good, interesting, especially he just passed away and a lot of the stuff that he went through. He's an international icon, a rebel, but he's also a criminal and domestic abuser, author. I mean, he was everything too. A movie consultant and even an actor. He was even on Sons of Anarchy a few episodes too.
He was. I didn't know that. I'll be darned.
Yeah. So he was a consultant for the show for years. The Sons of Anarchy is based, according to the show's creator, on the Hells Angels.
Okay. All right. That's that makes sense. The Hells Angels are when you think of motorcycle gangs, the first words that pop in your mind is Hells Angels.
Yeah, that's for sure.
They're just a part of the scene now. There's so many out there now, little gangs and big gangs. I'm just this motorcycle race in Peoria, and there was a local gang that had colors. It was like the what was that? The Untamed Brothers, the UB. They had colors, and they had two girls with them, two women with them. Then most of these guys old tired guys looked like me, and these gals with them, they had vests that said "Property of the UTB."
Yeah, that's right.
It's a different lifestyle, ain't it?
No, it is. And I think hopefully they learn their lessons from what's happening, because some of these huge racketeering cases have crushed. And ATF, I don't know if the audience knows, has done quite a few of these, infiltrating, from the Hells Angels to the outlaws to the Mongols to the pagans to the banditos to the vagos. All of them have been taken down a lot. And it's going to end up one way or the other, either in incarceration or among themselves. These guys are brutal among themselves. They shouldn't kill themselves. So one of the interesting one percenter groups, I also wrote a book also on the one percenter, the violent biker gang. So if you really don't know much about that, I think maybe it's a good read to put them both together.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
One's free and the other one you pay a little bit, but it's not really that expensive. Okay. So I think both of them go together, the one percenter. So if you really don't know much about them, or you think, how many groups are there? What's going on? I kind of break it down nice and easy so you can see what they're all about. And they're not a super long read. Some people say, I don't have time to read long books. Okay. Well, they're not. I research, but they're accurate. I do research them and I find interesting tidbits. I think with my books, you can find interesting tidbits and nuggets, which you might not find sometimes in other places. And I enjoy coming on your show, Gary, and talk about things like this.
All right, Ignacio. We love having you on. All right.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Well, folks, that was Ignacio Esteban, our good friend, retired ATF agent, and we really like having him on. Don't forget, look out for motorcycles. There's regular motorcycle people out there like me. Look out for motorcycles. And if you have any problems with PTSD, and if you've been in the military, the VA has got a really good hotline for that. So check that out. Ignacio, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Gary. I look forward to it.